Adolf Hitler leans over military maps, completely unaware that he has less than 3 minutes to live. If Hitler had died that afternoon, World War II would have ended 9 months early. The Holocaust would have stopped. Millions of lives, soldiers, civilians, children, would have been saved. But Hitler didn't die. And the reason why? It's so absurd, so tragically simple, that when you hear it, you won't believe that the fate of millions of people hinged on something so small. Before I tell you what went wrong, you need to understand something. This wasn't some desperate last-minute plot thrown together by amateurs. This was a meticulously planned military coup involving hundreds of high-ranking German officers, government officials, and intellectuals. They had a complete government ready to take over. They had orders prepared to arrest the SS. They had peace negotiations planned with the Allies. Everything was perfect, except for one thing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this all began. 1943, North Africa. Lieutenant Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg is driving through the Tunisian desert when his convoy is suddenly attacked by Allied fighter planes. Machine gun fire tears through a staff car. When the smoke clears, Stauffenberg has lost his left eye, his right hand, and 2 fingers on his left hand. He's rushed to a Munich hospital where he spends months in agonizing recovery. And it's here, lying in that hospital bed, that something shifts inside him. You see, Stauffenberg wasn't always against Hitler. Like many German officers, he initially supported the regime. He believed in Germany's strength in its military tradition. But what he witnessed on the Eastern Front changed him forever. He saw the SS murder squads. He heard the reports of mass executions of Jews, Poles, and Soviet prisoners. He watched as his fellow officers, good men who had sworn oaths to protect their country, became complicit in genocide. And then came Stalingrad, the catastrophic defeat where an entire German army, over 250,000 men, was destroyed. Hitler had ordered them to fight to the last man, forbidding any retreat. Stauffenberg's friends died in that frozen hell. And for what? In his hospital bed, Stauffenberg made a decision. Someone had to stop this madness. Someone had to kill Hitler. But here's the thing that makes Stauffenberg different from every other person who wanted Hitler dead. He actually had access to him. As he recovered, Stauffenberg was promoted to Chief of Staff to the commander of the Reserve Army. This position would give him something precious, regular meetings with Hitler himself. And that's when he connected with a secret network of resistors who'd been plotting for years. They called themselves the Kreisauer Circle and the Wednesday Society. Generals, politicians, former labor leaders, church officials, all united by one goal: eliminate Hitler and end the war before Germany was completely destroyed. They had a name for their plan: Operation Valkyrie. Now, here's where it gets brilliant. Valkyrie was actually a real contingency plan that already existed in the German military. It was designed to allow the Reserve Army to take control of Germany if there was ever an internal uprising or if the SS tried to seize power. The conspirators realized, what if we could use Valkyrie against Hitler himself? What if we could make Hitler's own emergency protocols the weapon that destroys him? So they modified it. They created secret orders that would be activated the moment Hitler died. These orders would mobilize the Reserve Army across Germany and occupied territories to arrest the SS, secure communication centers, and establish a new government. It was genius. They were going to use Hitler's own system to dismantle everything he'd built. But there was still the hardest part. Someone actually had to kill him. July 20th, 1944, 6 a.m. Stauffenberg wakes up in Berlin. This is it. Today's the day. He dresses in his Wehrmacht uniform, the same uniform that had once represented honor and duty, now a disguise for treason. But was it really treason? Or was killing a tyrant the highest form of patriotism? In his mind, Stauffenberg knows the answer. He kisses his children goodbye, not knowing if he'll ever see them again. His wife notices something in his eyes, but says nothing. They both know. By 7 a.m., he's on a plane to East Prussia, to a place called the Wolf's Lair, Hitler's primary military headquarters. It's a fortress hidden deep in the forest, surrounded by minefields, guard towers, and 3 separate security checkpoints. Getting inside with a bomb? Impossible. Except, Stauffenberg has one advantage: his injuries. Who would suspect a war hero, a man who had sacrificed his eye and hand for Germany, being an assassin? His very appearance, his eye patch, his mangled hands, made him seem harmless.
The bomb itself is cleverly disguised. It's a British plastic explosive with a special chemical fuse. You break a glass capsule containing acid, and the acid slowly eats through a wire. When the wire breaks, it triggers the detonator. The genius of this design? It's silent. No ticking clock to give you away. The problem? Stauffenberg only has one hand and 3 fingers. Setting this bomb requires breaking the capsule, which means crushing it with pliers while simultaneously keeping the explosive steady. For a man with 2 hands, it's difficult. For Stauffenberg, it's almost impossible. But he's practiced. He knows he can do it. At 10:15 a.m., Stauffenberg's plane lands. He's carrying 2 briefcases, one with documents, one with death. He passes through the first checkpoint. Clear. Second checkpoint. A guard glances at his briefcase, but waves him through. Clear. Third checkpoint. An SS officer studies his papers, looks at his eye patch, his injuries. For a moment, time stops. Then, "Welcome, Colonel." He's inside the Wolf's Lair. At 12:30 p.m., Stauffenberg is told the conference with Hitler will begin in 10 minutes. He asks to use a bathroom to freshen up. In a small side room with his accomplice, Lieutenant Werner von Haeften, standing guard, Stauffenberg opens his briefcase with his 3 remaining fingers. This is where everything should have gone according to plan. He had prepared 2 bombs, enough explosives to ensure that everyone in that conference room would die. 2 bombs meant absolute certainty. But as he struggles with the pliers, breaking the first acid capsule, suddenly an officer knocks on the door. "Colonel, they're waiting for you." Panic. He's only activated 1 bomb. He has maybe 10 minutes before it detonates. There's no time for the second bomb. Decision time. Does he wait, risk being discovered, and try to arm both bombs? Or does he trust that 1 bomb will be enough? He makes the choice. 1 bomb. He closes the briefcase, leaves the second bomb behind, and walks toward the conference room. At 12:37 p.m., Stauffenberg enters the conference room. The briefcase is in his left hand, heavy with death. Hitler is there, leaning over a large wooden table covered with maps of the Eastern Front. Around him are 20 dozen high-ranking officers and generals. Stauffenberg sets his briefcase under the table as close to Hitler as possible, about 6 feet away. He positions it carefully. Inside, acid is eating through a wire. About 3 minutes remain. Then Stauffenberg does something brilliant. He excuses himself, claiming he needs to take an urgent phone call from Berlin. Nobody suspects anything. He walks out calmly. 12:40 p.m. Stauffenberg is now outside the building, walking toward a car that will take him to the airfield. 12:41 p.m. Inside the conference room, an officer named Colonel Heinz Brandt finds Stauffenberg's briefcase in his way. Annoyed, he reaches down and moves it. He pushes it to the far side of one of the table's massive oak leg supports, away from Hitler. 12:42 p.m. The bomb explodes. The blast is catastrophic. The conference room literally disintegrates. Windows shatter, the roof collapses. 4 men are killed instantly, including the officer who moved the briefcase. Others are blown through the air, their bodies broken and bleeding. From 200 yards away, Stauffenberg sees the explosion. He sees the smoke rising, debris flying, bodies being carried out. He knows, absolutely knows, that no one could have survived that. Hitler is dead. Stauffenberg races to his waiting aircraft. He has to get back to Berlin immediately to launch the coup. Every second counts now. At 1 p.m., his plane takes off. At 1:15 p.m., he's radioing Berlin. The bomb has detonated. Activate Valkyrie.
In Berlin, the conspirators spring into action. General Friedrich Olbrich begins issuing orders to military units across Germany. The SS has attempted a coup. The Führer is dead. Arrest all SS officers. Secure all communications. Across Germany, confused Wehrmacht units begin mobilizing. In Paris, the German military commander arrests 1,200 SS officers. In Vienna, troops surround SS headquarters. It's working. The coup is actually working. But here's what Stauffenberg doesn't know, what he can't know as he flies back to Berlin. Hitler is alive. The massive oak table leg that Colonel Brandt moved the briefcase behind, it shielded Hitler from the worst of the blast. Hitler's right arm is injured, his hair is singed, his eardrums are ruptured, and his pants are shredded. But he's alive. And he's furious. At 1:30 p.m., Hitler is already on the phone, giving orders. His voice is shaking with rage. "I am alive! Find out who did this!" But in Berlin, the conspirators don't know this yet. For 3 crucial hours, they believe their plan has succeeded. They're issuing orders, arresting SS officers, preparing to announce the new government. Stauffenberg lands in Berlin at 4:30 p.m., still believing Hitler is dead. But by now, the truth is spreading. Hitler himself goes on the radio at 1 a.m. on July 21st. His voice, unmistakable, fills radios across Germany. A very small clique of ambitious, irresponsible, and senseless officers has attempted to eliminate me. In Berlin, when the Wehrmacht soldiers hear Hitler's voice, they realize they've been tricked. They've been following orders to arrest the SS, thinking Hitler was dead. But he's alive, and now they're the traitors. The coup collapses in minutes. At the Bendler block, the conspirators' headquarters, chaos erupts. Officers loyal to Hitler storm the building. There's gunfire in the corridors. Men are running, burning documents, desperately trying to escape. Stauffenberg and 3 of his closest co-conspirators, General Olbricht, Colonel Merz von Quernheim, and Stauffenberg's aide Werner von Haften, are captured. No trial, no mercy. At 12:30 a.m., just hours after the failed coup, they're lined up against a wall in the courtyard. A makeshift firing squad is assembled. One by one, they're shot. When it's Stauffenberg's turn, his last words are, "Long live our sacred Germany." But the killing didn't stop there. Hitler, paranoid and vindictive, ordered a massive purge. Nearly 5,000 people were arrested. About 200 were executed, many of them subjected to show trials where they were humiliated, tortured, and hung with piano wire from meat hooks, their deaths filmed for Hitler to watch repeatedly. Among the executed, generals, admirals, diplomats, church leaders, former government ministers. Even Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, one of Germany's most celebrated commanders, was implicated. Rather than face trial, Rommel was given a choice, suicide, and his family would be safe. He took poison on October 14, 1944. The Nazi propaganda machine went into overdrive, portraying the conspirators as traitors, cowards, and criminals. For decades after the war, many Germans viewed them with suspicion. It wasn't until the 1960s that they began to be recognized as heroes. But here's the tragedy that keeps historians awake at night. If Hitler had died that day, World War II in Europe would have ended by Christmas 1944. The Battle of the Bulge, which killed 19,000 American soldiers, never happens. The final brutal battles across Germany never happen. The death marches from concentration camps never happened. In the 9 months between the failed assassination and Germany's surrender in May 1945, approximately 2 million soldiers died on the eastern and western fronts. 1 million German civilians died in bombing raids in the Soviet advance. 500,000 Jews and other prisoners died in concentration camps and death marches, and countless others died from disease, starvation, and execution. That's roughly 3.5 million deaths that could have been prevented. All because a bomb was moved 6 feet to the left. All because a heavy oak table leg absorbed the blast. All because Stauffenberg didn't have time to arm the second bomb. Sometimes history turns on the smallest of moments.
Today, there's a memorial at the Bendler block where Stauffenberg was executed. It's a simple courtyard, now called the Memorial to the German Resistance. In the center stands a statue of a young man, bound and defiant. Every year on July 20th, German officials gather there to honor Stauffenberg and the other conspirators. They're now recognized as the Men of July 20th, patriots who tried to save Germany from itself. But the question remains, were they heroes or traitors? They broke their oaths, they plotted murder, they committed treason against their own government. But that government was the Third Reich. That oath was to Adolf Hitler. That treason was an attempt to stop genocide. I'll let you decide. But remember this, when evil becomes law, resistance becomes duty. And sometimes, the greatest act of patriotism is to betray your country, to save its soul. If this story fascinated you, if it made you think about courage, sacrifice, and the impossible choices people face in dark times, hit that subscribe button, because history isn't just about what happened, it's about what almost happened. And those almost moments, they're the ones that should terrify us most. Thanks for watching, and remember, history is closer than you think.